Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. It's Ham Nation, the first episode of the new year. We're going to kick it off right. We're going to see what's going on with Bob and his new QTH. Well, new old QTH. He's moving. That's where he's been lately. Why are my fingers doing this? Gordo has gadgets. We'll have Tales from the Transmitter site and Solar from Dr. T. And then Amanda, with her pretty face, will be in to tell us about chat room stuff. And it's going to be a great year. And we're going to start it off right with you right now on Ham Nation. Ham Nation is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. Most in-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 435 for January 8th, 2020, kicking off the new year.
Hello, everybody, and happy 2020. Can you believe it? 2020. Ooh, what happened to all those years? Goodness, but it's good to be back. We missed everybody for the couple of weeks. Had a lot of fun with our families and stuff, but boy, we missed seeing everybody on the screen. And we have another wonderful show for number 1 here this year, and hope that you will enjoy this along with every other one each Wednesday. Let's see who we got on board. I think we have a guy from Mississippi. George, how are you?
Hi, Bob. I survived New Year's Eve, and we're here. We had a big time over at amateurlogic.tv with a live stream through New Year's Eve. We had Amanda and Jeff there, and, well, a lot of folks. It was a lot of fun. If anyone wants to check that out, it's all archived right there for your enjoyment or whatever. But you're going to need a few minutes because it was about 4 hours long. Well, I've been at a transmitter site this week, Bob, and I was neutralizing a tube, one of those about this big around, about that tall. And I did it differently this time. I used a procedure I had never used before, so I just thought we'd share that in the first, for this year, Tales from the Transmitter site.
I like it because we're thinking about building an amplifier this season to do a little bit more work with the pine board, but neutralization's been kind of holding me back, so we'll learn something from that. What are we going to learn from Don? How are you doing, Don? You okay?
What are you going to learn from me?
Yeah.
Probably not much, but Dr. T will be here to tell us about the solar stuff. I'm wearing my LSU shirt because, well, LSU beat Oklahoma, and then, the Saints lost. So this is all the hope that I have for the national championship on Monday night. Say hello to our WTWW listeners. They had some great photos in the Christmas contest. So go on WTWW.us and check that out. And, of course, if you have any ham radio stuff you'd like them to know about, email at WTWW.us. That's their email. Great shortwave radio station, and huge friends of Amateur Radio Newsline and Ham Nation here. And you can listen to the Ham Nation audio right there on WTWW, Bob. It's pretty cool stuff. Like I said, we've got Dr. T coming up with solar and a little bit from Newsline, and who knows what else will come around here. But that's the story from here, and I'm sticking to it.
I just got a phone call a little bit ago from Valerie. I'll talk about it here in just a minute, but she's listening to the show tonight on her Sangean out on the ocean on shortwave. So how about that?
There you go.
Here at home, we can do it direct. So there we go. Gordo, how are you doing? You been out floating around on the ocean?
Yeah, I was warming up the Pacific Ocean in case Valerie decided to come around the curve and head over this way. And because it was a holiday season and we had all sorts of great things that all of us received, we'll have a few weeks of GG, Gordo's Gadgets, or maybe Great Gadgets. Look at this. This is watching the cell phone as it's charging. And as you know, many times when you plug in a cell phone to a charger, you never really know what the voltage is and what the current is. This little guy comes from Roger at Wired Communications, WiredCom, and he does the fast charger. But this little doodad, this is wonderful. I have it turned off now, but it measures voltage and current to whatever you're charging, cell phone or tablet or whatever. It's neat. It's cheap. It's like $10 to $15. So that was my neat deal over the holiday season. Bob, back to you.
I love Roger. Man, oh man, he's got gadgets galore. I love being with him at the HamFest. So we'll see him here in a few weeks in Orlando. My Christmas present was this. My soldering iron died, and with this new station going together, the little soldering tips don't make it. I need this one. And I got me a big Weller again, and got to have those kind of things when you do big coax connectors. Well, first of all, I want to tell everybody that I just spoke with Valerie via the phone. She's on a ship, her, Jerry, and about 4 or 5 of their ham friends. They're getting ready to take off and float down into the somewhere near South America. I'm not sure where, but anyway, they're doing a little ham cruise. And she wanted to be on the show tonight, but the internet was terrible, so I hardly made the phone connection. So she'll be on in 2 weeks with lots of video. But Victor has some slides that he can show us. He sent these along. This is for next year. And I really advise everybody to look at this seriously. What a great trip with Carnival. They're doing a thing for ham radio operators. So you'll meet a lot of people and be with a lot of your ham friends, and they will have antennas and all that kind of stuff for us. It's a 7-day cruise in the Caribbean, and they leave out of Galveston, and it's really, really something special. And we'll have to see if we can make that happen ourselves. They have all kinds of activities. They have several stations set up, and as you can see there, they've got things together. And of course, you'll want to take your handy-talkie with you and cruise around the ship doing things. But they've got signal link adapters that they've provided, and all kinds of stuff. So that'll be fun. And hey, you get a free bottle of wine and 2 tote bags. Just think about that. So just for checking in. There's the information. N5DSR is putting this all together. So give Debbie a shout there on the phone or on her Yahoo account, and they'll give you more information about it. But won't that be fun with Jerry and Valerie being your hosts? I think that'll be terrific. So thanks for bringing those on with us. Appreciate that, Victor. Well, I want to just give you a little bit of insight about what we're going to do here tonight. I got some things later on. We're going to talk about some of the shows I planned, but I wanted to give you a little rundown on what I've been doing here. I've been working my head off, my gosh. But one of my very interesting things that I found, we've been going to IKEA a lot, and I found the coolest thing. I'm always looking for lights to light up your consoles, and it's really difficult. But I found one at IKEA. They're kind of a weird-looking thing, and when you first look at it, it's called Hearty, okay? That's their name for that. But look at this little guy. It's made to put like on a desk or whatever, and it's got a little stand, and you can move it around. And I said, boy, that would be good. So what did I do? Got out my hacksaw. Now you got to be careful doing this because there's wires inside here. So I cut it off very carefully, pulled all the wires loose, and what we end up with is one of these guys, like this right here, and I mounted it. I have two of them, and you can put them wherever you want. They rotate. I think, oh, you know what? You're not able to see that because my camera's not high enough. There we go. And you can rotate these little devils and put the light where you want it, especially here on the desk if you're building something. Isn't that cool? I did cut it off here. Got one of the old mounts from Lowe's. Bingo. And the power supply is 5 volts. Of course, it comes with it. I plugged it in the back, and I'm really happy with those. I'm getting ready to put them on the other console. But check it out because, man, it's really great light for what we need in ham radio. And while we're over here, I'll run you through what we're doing. Now, I had a lot of this hooked up in Pleasant Hope, and I really enjoyed what was going on there. Let me see if I can get this all up and going. I'm very, very excited about some of the things that, there we go. You can, here, let me get that over here. You can see all of the switches I did here. Those are Les Paul guitar switches. And the reason I use them, they are adjusting the Ameritron remote switches. You know, for years, I used all the, the click, click, click rotary things, and I didn't like those. I said, we get tired of that. Let me see here if I had one. What did I do with the other thing? Anyway, they're remote switches that are made to put up on your tower, whatever. I switch everything with them. I can switch the 5 different transceivers with them. I don't like rotary switches. That's the problem. And so I used the bat switches. The other one switches antennas. All of these guys, there's 75, 40, 20, so on. And then I have another set over here that switches down in Pleasant Hope that was switching the phased arrays, but I have other uses there. This is switches from 2 to 6. They're absolutely wonderful, and you really need to spend time with them. Let me find it for you because it makes no sense unless you see the rest of it. This is wonderful stuff, and it's not expensive. You put the center, that's the one you're going to switch. Say that was your antenna, and you can switch it from any of the 5 just by pushing a button. Now, it comes with a little box that's got a rotary switch in it. But as I said, I just don't like rotary switches. So check that out. If you're doing any kind of switching in your station, that's what you want to do. Ameritron's got it together, and it's called RCS, Remote Control Switch 8V. And I love it. There's 35 relays in this system, and I've had no problem. I had there were 20 of them out in the weather down in Pleasant Hope, no problem. Of course, they were in boxes and stuff like that. But for switching antennas or any kind of relay switching between the rigs, if you got 2 or 3 rigs and you want to switch them, Ameritron, that's the way to go. And you can use their little switch box if you want. I'm just a nut for the bat handle switches, and they work great. And I got the switches from Antique Electronic Supply. That's the one that has all the parts for the Pine board. They have every part in the world for any kind of guitar stuff. So just wanted to let you know. I'll clue you in on some of the stuff going on because we got all kinds of craziness going on here. New stuff. I just built another hutch from IKEA for some of my turntables and stuff like that. We'll get into that as we get into the different shows. And I wanted to let you know that we're really having fun with the Ham Nation badges from Ham Crazy. If you don't have yours yet, please check it out. Ham Crazy. They've got all kinds of stuff, and they can put your call or whatever. They'll do anything. So I want to make sure you're getting these, because when I go to Orlando, I want to see a bunch of these. So there you go. I proudly wear mine since I have it now. And coming up, we got some new things coming on, and I'll after Gordo. He's got some exciting stuff. I'll give you a couple of things before we get into some serious stuff here. But that's what's going on right now. Gordo, what do you have? You got gadgets. You got things happening. What's going on?
Yeah, I got gadgets. And Bob, yeah, we got the killer iron, 350 watts. If I see someone doing a PL259 with a 75-watt iron, I immediately yank it from their hands and say, you got to do it with some real heat. And these do the real heat. All right, well, let's jump right into short shots for 2020. And all of you who have made resolutions for 2020, your resolution is, yep, we've been hearing about tower safety. We'll talk more about that shortly. But, standing tall. You want to make sure that that beam antenna is absolutely straight so the neighbors won't be belly aching. And, of course, I wouldn't be doing any antenna work with clouds looking like that. The trap. A trap beam antenna was popular and still continues to be popular. The trap works on the formula X sub L equals X sub C at resonance. Now, the L is for a coil and the C is for capacitance. When we take a look at these coils on a vertical antenna, such as a 5-band trap vertical, not all of them use these resonant LC parallel circuits, the coils, but the loading coil is actually a stop band for the band that it's intended in. That right-hand one is for 10 meters, so it stops 10 meters from going anything further, and the current circulates within the coil. Wait a minute, what's that piece of wire hanging down? That was the only band that was a little too high. No problem. On the beam side of the coil, we just added a little tiny piece of wire, and now it drops right in at 28,400. There's the 15 meter. You get the idea. But look at the little tiny holes. Those are the traps. And an antenna with traps is an LC circuit that should work fine without being damp on the inside. And there's your typical coil. And there's the cap that is on most of the coils, the loading coils on antennas. And this cap is weather resistant, but it's not weatherproof. And if moisture gets into the outside of that coil, it's going to throw off the resonance. And a good test of a good coil is to peel back that black covering and take a look and make sure that that self-tapping screw is indeed nice and tight. Because if you wiggle the outside of the coil trap and it wiggles back and forth, you're going to have an intermittent connection. Now, I know Amanda and Jeff, they worked hard to finally cure their intermediate connection, and it was just nothing more than after a few years, those little self-tapping screws get a little loosey-goosey. And that's what's inside the coil. Normally, that's not going to fail unless you're running 1,500 watts in the rain. So the big failure of coils, I got to get a new coil. No, you just need to dry the mama out and it'll do just fine. Now, on vertical antennas, those that are just 2 meter 440 with just a single antenna, they're going to be fine through the winter that you folks on the East Coast have endured and are still enduring. But what occurs on the inexpensive verticals. Now, I'm not talking about diamond. They're great. I'm not talking about comet verticals. I'm not talking about the tram verticals. We're talking about those that come direct from overseas to you at a money-saving value. Well, it's money saving until you got to spend hours and hours to figure out what the heck is going on, because your antenna on 2 meters and 440 after the big rain or the big snow is just not working. The SWR is sky high. Your radio's getting extra hot. Your neighbors are screaming at you that you're coming over their Wi-Fi and toaster. Well, take it apart and take a look. So as you undo one element to the next and water comes out, this is not good. That is not Dr. Pepper. Sorry, Bob. That's just plain old rainwater. Well, I'll just pour it out and get started again. No, you might as well cancel the whole antenna and get a good diamond or comet or tram antenna from the leading dealers, because water inside those is a real problem. And I recommend on those 2-section and 3-section verticals that come together and you tighten up the screw that keeps the elements together, put some vulcanizing tape on the outside and really dog it down to seal out the moisture. Now, tower safety, you bet. We're going to talk more about that. And very shortly, we're going to have a great website from Jim Idelson, and that is www.zerofalls, all one word. In other words, don't fall, zerofalls.org. And you're going to learn here on Ham Nation in the next month all about tower safety climbing apparatus. And just because you're on the ground doesn't mean that you're safe. As you can tell, this poor hapless operator on field day took a slight spill because he tripped over some LMR 400 in 30-degree weather. I don't know what he's doing in shorts, but that's that. So be thinking safety this year. 2020 resolution, be safe, even on the ground. Now, that's Gary. Gary's our main man at Quartzsite, W6KVC. Gary has some great demonstrations he does at every Ham Fest. Here he's showing off his pneumatic antenna raiser and lower. And at Quartz Fest, I'm sure he'll have the tallest antenna around without having to do any cranking. So thanks, Gary. Now, here's Don Hill. He's sort of got a smile, but not a big one, because he's read the FCC docket that is suggesting, actually it's a notice of proposed rulemaking, saying that non-federal allocations on the 3.3 to 3.55 gigahertz band, that means hams, non-federal, we're not federal, we're using their airways. Well, they control their airways, and they're kicking us off if no one objects. So I encourage all of you to support the Amateur Television Network that Don supports, and also his big support here on the West Coast and hams all over the country, working with served agencies that says, wow, this is neat stuff that ham radio operators can come on the air when our internet goes down and still get into the internet via the links. And that's what we're going to do at Quartz Fest in 2 weeks. We're going to come to you via the Arden Mesh Network, and the Mesh Network at 3.3 to 3.5, as well as 5.6 and 5.95. The FCC is thinking of doing away with them. So I encourage all of you, go to the Arden Mesh site, www.AREDN. Now, don't spell it wrong. It's not ARDEN, but AREDN, Amateur Radio Emergency Digital Network. Mesh, run with that word together, mesh.org. ArdenMesh.org. Spell Arden, AREDN. And you'll see what a huge fight we have, but we need every ham. All of you in the chat room, get busy and go to the fcc.gov/filings/express and file your comments. All you have to say is, Arden, in your neck of the woods, the mesh network, the equipment that you purchased, the facilities that are there, the amount of money you're going to lose when they kick us off the airwaves. But go to the FCC website and look under electronic filing, ECFS, electronic filing service, and make your words very important to those FCC folks that say, are the hams really contributing to our public safety? Heck yes. We've developed these out of our own pockets, free of charge. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the very latest in coaxial cable. Of course, good coax is like this, but good coax with a high SWR, when you're running 1500 watts, that center conductor begins to migrate because the goo in the center, that's the insulation, begins to heat up at 500 to 800 to 1,000 to 1,500 watts. And what occurs is the hotter it gets, the mushier the center conductors get. And when this occurs, you are off the air. That's right. These are live photos. Thanks, Tracy. Tracy assures me he was not running 1,500 watts, brand new installation. Who would know that a piece of coax cable would ever migrate where the center conductors just come on over and short out? What a deal. Oh, I'm so sorry. Your new solar panels, I'm picking them up 20 over 9. If you see this on your pan adapter, you know you've got probably switcher noise. And the switcher noise is either coming from a solar installation, not the solar cells, but the switching networks. And what you hear is every couple hundred kilohertz, or excuse me, every couple hundred hertz, you're seeing these errant signals. And that's just hash. That's not a good signal. So when your neighbors put up that new solar panel system, monitor your airways before they get it hooked up. And there is a cure, but the cure is a big one. You need to first identify what's creating the noise. Well, a neighbor got some panels a few doors away. I went down there, and I monitor on the aeronautical airband with a small shortwave receiver. I pick 126, 136, whatever's a clear frequency. And I got real close to his solar panels and his solar hookup to the main line and to his battery system. It was clean. There was not a whisper of a noise coming through. Yet I was picking it up big time on my set about 3 houses away. Well, it's the switcher. And I was like going around going, what the heck is going on? And finally, I zeroed in on a stupid light bulb, an everyday LED light bulb. I won't tell you whose house. All right, I won't tell you whose. All right, it was mine, a new one. I screwed it in. I had no idea it would completely wipe out HF reception. Remember, the little teeny LEDs tend to disrupt the VHF bands, and the real big light-emitting ones, like 25 watters and 50 watt equivalent, they tend to be more noisy on the low bands. And so that's the thing to look for. You can't have enough of these little guys, and that is a whole handful of the little pulse width modulation ferrite beads eliminator. So a good ferrite bead, you don't have to unsolder anything. You just clip them right over the wire, and you close them up, and you're ready to roll. So a good handful of ferrite beads from all of the radio dealers, and you'll be set, at least in your own house. So I hope everybody has good ideas for great suggestions for 2020. Bob and I and George and Don and Amanda, we're all looking for, and Valerie, looking for more suggestions of what you want to see here on Ham Nation. Sorry I won't be in Orlando, but I'll see you in Dayton. 73 from Gordo and Sue's, WB6NOA and 6GLF, and welcome to 2020. Bob?
Well, we're going to miss you, buddy. I had to take a little bit time out here to get a little Dr. Pepper. And chocolate chip cookies. Yeah. Oh, good stuff, Gordo. Yeah, good stuff, as always. To continue on, one of the subjects I wanted to talk about quickly was what we're going to be doing here, some of our thoughts. Tower safety is number one. I heard a while ago, I talked to Jim on the phone. He's going to be on, we think the 15th, he'll be on with the other segment. But he said that in the East Coast, I think it's Massachusetts, now I could be wrong on the state, they have discovered that this vaping stuff is going to be bad. So they banned it. But here's the deal. There have been 4 deaths with vaping in the whole state. Now, you think about how many people live in a state and have 4 deaths. Guess what? We have had 6 deaths from tower safety problems. And boy, is amateur radio community a lot smaller than the state? Of course it is. So you got to look at do the math. I mean, we've got to really lay this down to let everybody know you can't just buy a tower and go stick it up. There's a lot of research you have to do and get a lot of professional help. That would be my thing. Professional help's where it is. And there's many companies, many guys, they're hams that have companies that will put your tower up and service it. So, yeah, it's going to cost a little money, but what's your life worth? Think about it. So we're going to have more and more of that. And I want pictures. I'm really going to be on this. I want pictures of your pine board project or any other, but mainly pine board, because Randy is asking you for your project pictures, but I'm specifically looking for the pine board project pictures, what you're doing, and don't be shy. We all are not great builders, so just whatever you got going, let me know. I heard from David Kripe. He NM0S. He's quite a guy. He produces kits, a lot of kits for QRP, the QRP world. He's working on a receiver and working together to get the parts. So we'll, within a few months, we'll have a receiver we can build to go along with your pine board. We've been working on this a long time. Also working on a final. So it's all going to happen. I got really covered up the last half of the year and didn't have time to do it. And I have 2 sad things before I turn it over to George. One of my good friends, K9CQ, Tim Childers, he has been fighting terrible disease of cancer and other things for years. Had, I don't know how many, 2 or 3 stem cell transplants. He's been at Siteman when Sarah was in, and we'd visit him occasionally there. Well, he passed away a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really, really sad to see Tim go. He was a great operator, and there again, cancer got him. And I just heard from Dan in 9LVS, the wiki that he does each week. Do you look at the wiki? Do you know about it? You want to pay attention, because on the Ham Nation site, go down to the wiki pages and you'll have all the information. He types all this in. I'm amazed he does that, but he does. His mother died a couple of days ago, so he's going to be late and delay. Of course he will. God bless you, Dan, and our prayers are with you. Our prayers are with Tim's family. We really hate it when we lose hams and fellow friends. So that's kind of what's going on. But I want you to don't be shy. Send me an email. You know how to get to me. K9EID@ARRL is the best. And tell me what you'd like to see here this year. Whatever. We'll see if we can't put it together. And well, we can make it happen, but we'd like to have your idea, because from the beginning day of this show, we've told you that it's your show. So we want to see what you have going on. Let's go to Mississippi. I bet you he's got some things going on. George, what you got going down there? Are you okay?
I'm okay down here, Bob. I've been at transmitter sites this week. Well, at one in particular, I had I say a new tube. It was not really new. It's a rebuilt, because I can get a rebuilt for $1,800, but a brand new tube is a lot more costly than that. So most people use rebuilds. Anyway, we're going to come back and talk about that in just a moment here. But I think we'll take a quick break and get a message from ICOM. We'll be right back. New year, new savings. Bring in the new year loud and clear with some of ICOM's most innovative products. Check out the ICOM America website for current promotions on ICOM 7610, 7300, and 9700. Start the year off right with the high-performance IC 7610, a direct sampling transceiver that will change the world's definition of SDR. It has the ability to pick out the faintest signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. RF direct sampling system, 110 RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. With the IC 7300, ICOM is changing the way entry-level HF is designed. High-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The IC 9700 was built with the VHF UHF weak signal operator in mind. Faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. ICOM's IC 9700 is the pinnacle of perfection. 4.3-inch color touchscreen, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode, real-time high-speed spectrum scope and waterfall display, voice recording playback functions with SD memory card, supports CW, AM, FM, single-sideband RIDI, and D-Star DV and DD modes. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information and current promotions on ICOM 7610, 7300, and 9700. ICOM invites you to enter weekly after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation. Register to win great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats awarded every week. And you'll automatically be registered for the monthly grand prize drawing for a new radio. We've got a winner for December, although we've been out the last 2 weeks. To celebrate the holidays this year, ICOM gave away 2 radios. They gave away 2 ID 51A plus 2 dual band, dual watch D-Star portables. One lucky winner, Jane Miller, KD2 OAP, and Thomas Moore, N6 RIV. Congratulations, Jane and Thomas. You're really going to enjoy those radios. I know, because I've got one of those myself. Thanks for that, ICOM. But don't worry, we're giving away another one in January. This time it's going to be the ICOM ID 5100A Deluxe. Dual band, dual watch mobile with touchscreen. It's got FM or D-Star dual watch receivers, built-in GPS, large 5.5-inch touchscreen display, DV and FM repeater list function, SD card slot for voice and data storage, and there's an available Bluetooth module and Android app, plus a lot more. So go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation after this episode and register to win. Register after each episode. ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation. And thanks, ICOM, for sponsoring Ham Nation all these years. Well, I mentioned I was at a transmitter site. It was just yesterday. And I'll be going back tomorrow because I didn't get finished. Although I did finish the part I'm going to show you here. When you're using a vacuum tube, not so much a problem, say, with a grounded grid design, but other types, you might have a problem with neutralization. Neutralization is tubes have a tendency to want to self-oscillate, and you need to kill that. You need to nip it in the bud before it really gets started. So you need to neutralize an amplifier. If you've got a high gain tube, this could be a real problem. On these big transmitters, it really could be quite a problem. So we have to neutralize our amplifiers, or, it's the only tube in there, but it's got to be neutralized. Previously, I've always done it with instruction manual from the manufacturer that tells you how to look at the meters and tune different things and see how it operates and responds, and then you'll know whether or not you need to neutralize it and which way. But this time around, I tried a different method that it's not in the book, but they told me on the phone. So let's see how that goes. Here is the transmitter with some of the panels removed. On the left here is the PA cavity. That's a 4CX15000A tube in there. And in this transmitter, it's used to generate up to 25 kilowatts. And then the antenna amplifies it up to 100 kilowatts, vertical and horizontal. Now you can see this bottom part here is a cavity. It's got to be tuned for the frequency that we're operating at. And the door has 3 thumb screws here that tighten down real tight to seal it off. And all around inside this cavity, there is finger stock that contacts that door to make it a good RF tight installation. Now, if you don't have it tight, you can end up getting some arcs like these right here. That's a couple of older ones there, and I have sanded them out to get it smooth again. It'll arc against this finger stock and pit it up as well. Down here in the bottom, well, there's a tube. Let me pull off the chimney since this is air-cooled. Let's look down inside it. That's the plate of the tube right there. This is a plate blocker assembly. It just allows you to get the RF out of the tube without the DC getting to the antenna, which would be just a big bummer for everybody. Down in here is the neutralization sliders. You move these two in or out from the center there to adjust the neutralization of the transmitter. If the transmitter's not properly neutralized, it'll go into self-oscillation, which can cause nasty spurs and harmonics and garbage that you really don't want in your signal. You adjust these in and out to prevent that. You got to make sure that you adjust them both by the same amount. Now you can see some little marks down there where it was previously, and I am moving it out, trying to find the correct location for this particular tube. It changes with every tube. This time, I'm going to use a spectrum analyzer. It's the first time I've ever done that, and it looks like it's going to work out pretty good. I just wanted to take a moment here and share with you and let you see how we do that. Up here above the cavity, and this is not actually part of the cavity up here, you see a couple little coaxes. Those go to some samples that are down inside the cavity so that we can get a sample of the RF that's floating around inside there. Those go to a couple of BNC connectors on the rear that we can hook test equipment with and get a sample, see what we've got. One of those ports I've connected over to my spectrum analyzer. Unfortunately, I was short by one BNC to type in adapter, so I had to make my own. Now, this is not very pretty, and I wouldn't run any power through it, but it seems to be working okay for this purpose. Here's the signal of the station. Now, typically there's 400 to 500 watts driving that final PA amplifier. In this case, we're not having any electrical power feeding the transmitter. It's completely cold. And rather than have 500 watts on that grid, we're running 3 watts from the exciter into it. It's just pure carrier. I removed the modulation that was feeding the exciter so that we got a good clean signal there, and it'll be easy to look at. I set a marker so that I can keep up with the level, because what we're going to want to do now is adjust those neutralization sliders for a dip in the reading there. And when we've got it as low as we can get it, then we know we've got the least amount of self-oscillation going on from that tube. We do need to check this every time we change a tube, because it is likely that it did change. This new procedure here, I think I'm going to like this better, because I do have to move these sliders in here just tiny amounts and a lot of times to get it in the perfect position. Otherwise, you're going to have to fire the transmitter up, let it come up to temperature, tune it, determine if it needs neutralizing, shut it down, let it cool a little bit, discharge everything, turn the power off, go in there, make just a tiny little adjustment, put everything back together, fire it back up, and see what you got. Well, anyway, that's what I'm doing today. And there's our first Tells from the Transmitter site for 2020. And we'll be doing some more of those this year. We're going to be doing some other stuff, too. I'm toying with an idea right now that, I'd like a little feedback on to see if you guys would be interested in it. You can send me an email, george@amateurlogic.tv, and let me know. I'm considering, I like to do a lot of different things. One of them is program computers and play with hardware and microcontrollers and things. A microcontroller like an Arduino is pretty much, you can do, a lot more, but you can do all the same things that you could do with TTL or CMOS logic chips, AND gates, OR gates, NOR gates, all of that stuff. It is all essentially the same thing. If you know how to think about Boolean math or logic, it's all the same, and it's not really that difficult. I know I have a fun time building projects using those, and really, it's a lot cheaper than doing it with discrete components these days, and you don't have to build PC boards for it. No, it's already there. You just program it up, tell it what you want it to act like, and it does it. Well, I'm thinking about maybe doing a little series on how to get into that yourself and from the ground up, starting with what parts you'll need. I would tell you what you need to order in advance and where to find it, and then go through installing the software and showing you how to just write very simple little programs to get started with, and point you at some resources, because once you got started with this, you can do it. You're missing a lot of fun if you've never tried it, and you can do so many neat things that you would never take the time to do otherwise with discrete components. So I don't know, if you're interested in that, let me know and we'll talk about it. It won't be a real long running series, but it'll take more than one episode to pull that off. So let me know, and perhaps we'll be doing that soon. Well, I hope everyone had great holidays this year. I know I certainly did, and we had a fun time. But another guy I particularly, we're going to get back in just a moment with Don, because I want to see what he did. But first, I think we need to get a message from Randy right here and learn how your projects can be right here on Ham Nation.
Hi, Randy. I'm at my workbench in the basement here, but we'd like to see what's on your workbench. So what projects are you working on? Restoring a radio, building something new, putting a connector on? We'd like to see. So take some photos and write up a description and send it to me at hamprojects@twit.tv. That's hamprojects@twit.tv, and we'll get you on Ham Nation. So 73. That's all.
Okay, Don, how did you spend your holiday vacation.
Anyway, I'm so out of practice with Skype. I didn't know how to unmute my microphone. Well, it's been. I don't even remember how I spent my vacation. It was busy. I worked for one thing, and I've been. I'd say I sold the Trans Am. I bought my son a truck, gave it to him. Bought myself a convertible, and we've been driving that around. In fact, I'm driving that around this week, because the alternator went out in my daily driver. So that's my project for Saturday, is a new alternator in that. So we're driving the Saturn Sky to and from work all week, which I don't really want to do, but got to get to work. It was just busy. It was insanely busy. I'm actually kind of glad to get back to work now. This is the first full week of work I've had in like 4 or 5 weeks, because, of the Wednesday holidays that we've had. That is just crazy. It's finally get back to work so I can rest. It's been crazy, but very blessed, good health, great family, just having fun and great friends. And of course, this hobby of amateur radio, and all of you guys out there watching, that's I've got nothing to complain about. That's for sure. And great staff for Amateur Radio Newsline. In fact, why don't we go ahead and get the news of the week now from Amateur Radio Newsline, and we'll hear a little bit from Dr. T on the solar update. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2201, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, January 8th, 2020. As Newsline went to production, we received this update on the bushfires in Australia, where a 7-day emergency was declared in New South Wales as of Friday, January 3rd.
As property losses mounted and towns were cut off, military aircraft and Navy ships were bringing supplies into the region. By New Year's Day, New South Wales confirmed the death toll had risen to 15, but the toll nationwide reached at least 17, according to news reports. Julian Sortland, VK2YJS, the publicity officer for the Wireless Institute Civil Emergency Network in New South Wales, said that amateurs were monitoring IARU Region 3 disaster frequencies because of communication outages. Julian said Wyson was sending communications operations and logistics resources to the fire control centres across the state and territory from Wyson, New South Wales and Wyson ACT, which is part of Canberra Region Amateur Radio Club. They were also staffing aviation radio operations and telephone operations at the Bushfire Information Line in Sydney. Amateurs remained active, supporting the Rural Fire Service as well as other agencies. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm John Williams, VK4JJW.
A ham in Scotland is believed to have set a new world record thanks to troposcatter.
Troposcatter conditions were tops for a couple of ham radio operators who set what they believed to be a new world record. On the 28th of December, Scottish operator Ian White, GM3SEK, made contact with D41 Charlie Victor on the Cape Verde Islands using FT8 on 432 MHz. At 4,562 kilometres, or more than 2,800 miles, this beats the previous Tropo record in IARU Region 1, according to the EI7GL blog. It's also believed to be a new world Tropo record for 70 centimetres. The path for the contact between the two stations was mostly over water, strongly suggesting that marine ducting played a role. Ian's QTH is on the northern edge of the Irish Sea. The blog reports that at the same time conditions were so exceptional that many stations in Ireland and the UK also made good DX contacts with the Cape Verde Island station using 144 MHz. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Bucci for NJH.
Last, but certainly not least, one of Newsline's Young Hams of the Year is collecting another honor. Here's Newsline anchor Jim Dameron, N8TMW.
Congratulations to Drew Rubba, KC9ZJX, who was honored last year by being named Amateur Radio Newsline's Young Ham of the Year. Drew has been selected as one of 5 recipients of the Bloomington Normal, Illinois Martin Luther King Youth Award for 2020. Drew is the founder of the Universal Help Foundation, an international nonprofit organization dedicated to improving people's lives through innovation. A high school sophomore, Drew is an honor student and a volunteer in numerous organizations. Well done, Drew.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With John Williams, VK4JJW, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Jim Dameron, N8TMW, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
Space weather this week is definitely starting out the new year with some promise. As we switch to our front side sun, it all started with region 2753. This is a solar cycle 25 sunspot. It occurs at high latitudes, very far away from the magnetic equator. But no sooner than this region rotates off of the Earth-facing disk, than yet another solar cycle 25 sunspot appears. That's region 2755. As we switch to our far side sun, you can see it from stereo's view. This is stereo looking at the sun from the side. Right about the beginning of the year, you see that solar cycle 25 sunspot emerging right about the edge, right in the center of stereo's view. This region is the second region of the new solar cycle that we've seen in just so many days. And even though we do have yet another solar cycle 24 sunspot that has emerged in stereo's view that will be rotating into Earth view, having all these new sunspots emerging so close together means these new regions will start flaring soon, and that means we're going to start having to worry about radio blackouts, not just for amateur radio and emergency communications, but also for radio comms when it comes to rocket launches and other types of space traffic. But wait, there's more. About midday on the 5th, we actually did have an Earth-directed solar storm that was launched. You can see the poof right there about center disk from a region that wasn't even an active region. As a matter of fact, Halo CME posted this online. You can look at the blast radius from that poof, kind of expanding outward on the sun. But we weren't exactly sure there was going to be a solar storm that was associated with it. Yet as we turn to our far-sighted monitor, this is stereo, and we're looking at the coronagraphs from stereo's view. Sure enough, right there you see that solar storm being launched. It is definitely headed towards Earth. We're going to get better images as time progresses, as the data gets better, and then we just wait for the prediction models to tell us more. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating that Earth-directed solar storm gets on its way, and along with a small coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone, is going to be sending us some fast solar wind, just a smidge of it. We are expecting the impact of all of that stuff together to be right around the 8th and into the 9th. At high latitudes, NOAA's expecting active conditions with a possibility of major storm conditions. As a matter of fact, about a 25% chance of a major storm. Now, mid-latitudes, the predictions are a little bit less clear. We are expecting unsettled conditions, although we did hit active conditions earlier today. So we do have a decent chance of active conditions. And then when that solar storm hits, we could easily see a small chance of minor storm conditions at mid-latitudes. Don't know if it's going to give us all that much aurora. If shows happen, they'll probably be fleeting. But hey, it's the first time we've seen an Earth-directed solar storm in quite some time. And then after that things hit, it'll start kind of settling down as we get through the weekend. Switching to your solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, everything is still in the green when it comes to big solar flares. We don't have any risk for radio blackouts right now, and that should make you GPS users very happy. But hey, look at this. We also don't have a spotless sun anymore. We have region 2755, that is a solar cycle 25 sunspot that is in Earth view right now, and we also have another sunspot that's going to be rotating into Earth view here over the next couple days. And both of these are managing to boost the solar flux well into the 70s. We are at the marginal range for radio propagation on Earth's day side, and this is going to continue easily over the next few days, possibly throughout the week. So radio operators, you guys should be very, very happy about these conditions, and they are continuing. But we are not through solar minimum yet. We're still dealing with it. As a matter of fact, the cosmic ray penetration is really close to the highest it's ever been right now. So you frequent flyers, and this does include aircrew who fly over 800 hours annually and fly at high latitudes and high altitudes, you are still well into the marginal range for radiation dose, and this does include prenatal passengers. So please take this into consideration in your flight plans. So the space weather this week has gotten very exciting. Not only are solar cycle 25 sunspots becoming the norm, but we also now have an Earth-directed solar storm that's launched. When was the last time we had an Earth-directed solar storm? It's wonderful. The sun is actually beginning to wake up, so this is such good news. Now, your aurora photographers at high latitudes, you should be able to get a pretty decent show even in through the weekend. But those at mid-latitudes, well, better stay on your toes because it's going to be a fleeting show. But most likely you'll be able to see something, if anything, around the 8th and the 9th before things begin to settle down. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, you are also very happy. We have bumped back up into the marginal range for radio propagation on Earth's day side, and we are staying there. We are now in almost the mid-70s, and these conditions will continue easily over the next few days, possibly over the next week or two before things settle back down. Now, the only issue is with you GPS users. Well, your GPS reception on Earth's day side should look really good until about the 8th or the 9th when we get this solar storm hitting. And then especially on Earth's night side, you're going to have to stay away from the aurora and away from the dawn dust terminators in order to make sure that your GPS reception remains trustworthy. I'm Tamitha Skov. Thank you for watching.
Always excellent information from Dr. T, and make sure you follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Skov. She's probably the best Twitter follow you'll have in a long time. I'll guarantee you that. We can't do this show by ourselves. We have to have partners and help with that. And one of our partners, of course, our sponsors, is DX Engineering. And if you've got some holiday gift cash that you're, kind of hanging on to, thinking, what am I going to spend this on? Or maybe you got a DX Engineering gift card. Well, DX Engineering makes it easy because they have hundreds of options to upgrade for more excitement in the new year, 2020. New from Alinco is the versatile DJ VX50T dual-band handheld transceiver. Rugged little HT, built-in wideband receiver capabilities, including VHF AM aircraft, handy as it can be, via FM broadcast and NOAA weather radio, 200 memory channels, 5 watts on VHF, 4 watts on UHF, a variety of tone bursts for repeater access, waterproof, dust-proof body, high-capacity 1,800 milliamp lithium-ion battery pack, and a charging cradle. DX Engineering also carries a whole array of shack accessories like microphones, modules, and speakers. ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu, and Alinco all produce desktop and speaker microphones specifically made to complement their legendary radios. Features include built-in preamps, push-to-talk buttons with PTT lock switch, and electric or dynamic condensers. They have plug-in modules, let you enjoy your radio's full capabilities. DX Engineering has a great selection of keyer units, filter boards, CTCSS decoders, voice memory units, DTMF paging plugins, digital audio boards, Bluetooth adapters, and a lot more. And DX Engineering also offers several external speakers from Yaesu, Kenwood, and ICOM, Phonema, Heil, and BHI that make a perfect choice for your base radio station. Choose from DX Engineering's precision-engineered toolkits that enable you to prep and install connectors on your coaxial cables. It's vital that you get that on there right. The complete kit, the DXE UT Kit 4, comes with stripping and gripping tools, connector assembly tools, a braid trimmer, coaxial cable shears, and replacement blades to install solder-type PL259 and Type-N connectors to RG8X, RG213, and RG8 cable. The coaxial prep toolkit for crimp connectors, that's the DXE UT Kit CC1, has everything you need to prepare 400 Max, 8U, 213U, LMR 400, 8X, and LMR 240 size cables for installation of crimp-style PL259, Type N and B and C connectors, and each tool is available separately. And all kits come with a custom foam-padded carrying case to keep it all together. And DX Engineering ships faster than anybody else in the industry. Most orders placed by 10 p.m. Eastern are shipped the same day with proven products and expert advice. DX Engineering is helping you shrink the globe. Request your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/hamnation. That is dxengineering.com/hamnation. And we thank DX Engineering for their longtime support of Ham Nation. Been a while since we've talked to Amanda. She's been watching the chat room. What's going on tonight, Amanda? How are you? Good to see you for 2020.
Well, Happy New Year. Really sorry about the Saints loss, by the way. I was rooting all the way.
Yeah, well.
Maybe next year. So during vacation, we closed down from Christmas until after New Year's, and Jeff and I have had a blast on the radio. I have to say that I've probably made about over 500 contacts, just going out there saying CQ, handling a little bit of a pileup, and it was so fun to listen to what everybody was running, because that was one of my questions. You don't just get a signal report from me and move on. You got to tell me what you're using. And the other thing was how many people actually recognize the call and how many actually watch Ham Nation. So although all of you out there that I worked this week, it was really a blast. And a couple of the memorable ones were KI6LDM and KG4MUK. They were really fun. And thank you so much for being fans of the show. And I was also telling Ray, I said, if I had a penny for every time somebody said they were using the 7300, we'd have a really nice dinner at Chili's. I mean, I'm telling you, it was it's amazing how many people are using those 7300s and sounding so good out there. So that was a blast. While doing that, though, we were running some power, and I blew a tube in our Kenwood 922 Alpha. And yes, right. And so Jeff says, well, I have another set, so let's do some swapping out. And it was surgery here in the ham shack for a while, and there's parts everywhere. And we pulled out the tubes, and we put another one in. And Gordo, I bet you're going to tell us, why did we have SWR when we turned it back on, replacing one tube?
The SWR changed, huh? Well, that tells me that replacing the tube probably didn't have anything to do with SWR. So I would look at SWR with an analyzer and say, what the heck is happening with that great antenna you and Jeff have? But I wouldn't think that a new tube would change SWR, which is really looking at the antenna and the feed system.
Well, we do believe that it was mismatched tubes because it was a used tube. It was not a brand new one. And possibly even the sockets and the amplifier. So it could be the sockets that are actually blowing the tubes and has nothing to do with anything else. So we have a lot of surgery to do, and I'll keep everyone updated on how that goes. But
and Amanda, on a tube socket, take a look and make sure. Carefully inspect the tube socket, and if you see a little burn mark, it's got to be removed. That's a little carbon arc, and once the carbon arc is on the non-conductive material, it's got to be sanded off or chiseled off or whatever with everything turned off, because you don't want to have a carbon arc remaining when you put the new tube in, because it'll arc over again. So check both the bottom and the top where the tube goes in on the 922 amplifier, and make sure that there's no burn marks. And if there are, you can scrape them off and clean up that connection.
Very good. That's great advice, Gordo. And you don't want to stick your hands in these, even though they're unplugged, you don't want to stick your hands in these amplifiers very much, because you know how dangerous they can be. But we did clean a little bit, put a little bit of a tuner cleaner in there. We're not satisfied with it yet. So we've got more work to do with it and checking some stuff out. Gordo, so since Bob had to leave early, I did have some great questions for him about his switches in the background there, and I look forward to reaching out to him next week about those. But anyhow, so Gordo, a couple of things. You're getting ready to go to Quartz Fest, I know, but also, isn't there a VHF contest coming up? You got any helpful hints for all those looking to get on the air?
It is. It's a weekend after next. It's the first day of Quartz Fest, and you can believe that Delta Mike 2-3 will be on the air big time at Quartz Fest on that Saturday and Sunday. And that's the Saturday and Sunday that's leading off to Quartz Fest. And then we're going to try through the Mesh Network and Amateur Television Network to get a signal back to you and the team on Wednesday. But yes, that's always an exciting contest. So 6 meters on up, you folks out there, get on the air for the VHF UHF ARRL Super Contest weekend after next.
Very good. Thank you, Gordo. And Mr. George, you play around with these tubes still at these transmitter sites. Do you have any insight?
Yeah, what little bit of insight I would offer is, one, you can't match an old tube with a new tube if they're used in a pair. They need to be matched. They need to have the same gain. If they don't, then you're you're going to have some issues. In the AM transmitters, where we had like one pair of tubes, we actually used a lot of these right here. We'd have two of these for the modulator, and then there were two more that were the final plate amplifier. Whenever you changed them, if you changed the final amplifier, you replaced them as a pair at the same time. Same thing with the modulators. So they do need to work together as a pair. You can't have one that's weaker than the other, or you got issues. The only other thing I could think that would throw the SWR off is if it needed neutralizing, maybe really, really bad. I mean, if there was so much garbage coming out of the amplifier that it was more than just on the frequency you had your antenna tuned, maybe there was, garbage kind of spread around, that might create a little SWR issue. I have not seen that, but it seems possible.
Very good. Well, that's good insight. And now I'm starting, Jeff never explains anything when he's telling me this jargon. So when he said, well, the tubes might be mismatched, at least you're helping me understand how they are actually mismatched. So thank you for that. With that, I'll just go over the nets that we're going to have tonight. Again, Kevin's still moving his QTH and getting his shack together, so there's not going to be a 40-meter net, but we're going to have a 75-meter net on 3905, and the DMR net is going to be on 31... Boy, I take 2 weeks off, and now I can't. 31012, is that correct? On the talk group, and D-Star 14 Charlie. So make sure you join in on those nets, and wish everyone a happy New Year's, and tell those net controls that they're doing a great job. With that, who's wrapping it up tonight?
I don't know.
There it is.
And here's Don.
We haven't done this in 2 weeks. We're trying to. It's like that's why I only take 2 or 3 days of vacation. If I take a whole week, I got to go back and learn my job over again.
I feel like that's what I'm doing. I forgot to even turn on Skype tonight. I was like, oh man, I hope Victor hasn't been calling because I forgot to start it up.
I know. When George came to me, I almost turned Skype off trying to unmute myself. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't gonna work. All right. Well, I guess I will since my mouth is moving. That'll do it for the first edition of Ham Nation of 2020. Wow, man. When did we start this? 2014, something like that? It's been 6 or 7 years.
Oh, long time.
I looked earlier.
2012, I think.
Yeah, I looked earlier, and it's been a lot. I can't remember now. It's been so long. But, man, we're all just so blessed to be part of this. And thank you to Leo and everybody at TWIT, everybody who works on this show over there at TWIT, and a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. It's truly a blessing to be a part of this with legends like Bob Heil and Gordon West. I'm just so thrilled to be here. And Amanda, watching you grow as a broadcaster has just been amazing. So proud of you. And George, I learned something from George every week. Just amazing. So
hey, Don, you got to give you guys more credit than you did. It's 2011.
2011. Okay. Well, see, I looked back. I didn't remember.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's right. 2011. Wow. That's almost 10 years now. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, 8 years. Just amazing. They're 9 years. Yeah. Whatever. I've got 10 fingers. That's all I know. Anyway, so with that, we'll thank you all for being continuing on this journey with us, and one of these days we'll figure out how to do this show for real. So thank you all for being here, and looking ahead to Monday, I'll do my best Coach O impression. Go Tigers! That's not the orange Tigers from Clemson.
Go Tigers!
That's the purple and gold Tigers. So good night, everybody, from all of us here at Ham Nation. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you again next week, where hopefully we'll be celebrating a purple and gold national championship. So 7-3 all. We'll see you next week. Good night.